Yeah, ajmahari here. In this video, I'm going to be responding back to a commenter who's made things really interesting and perhaps even argumentative on their side. I don't really know. I just know that when somebody tells me I missed their point when they've missed mine multiple times, Anyway, the type of commenter who steps in it, and then I guess I make a tad bit of an example of them. They already don't like what I've said, in the hopes that it'll help somebody else. So please ignore the Toronto Maple Leafs shirt if you're an NHL fan and you know how bad they are this year. I don't watch them. I don't listen too much about them. I don't care about them anymore. The last time the Toronto Maple Leafs won the Stanley Cup was when I was 8 years old, and I am now, that was 60 years ago, ladies and gentlemen. So right now, in this video, it's about this really, really central, traumatic, horrible, will I ever recover from the borderline? How am I supposed to stop loving the borderline? No matter what they've done to me, I still love him or her. Maybe I could do this, maybe I could do that, maybe I could do the other thing. Things I'm always listening to from clients as well and working with clients through that process. And then along comes somebody who dated somebody with BPD for 4 months apparently. 3 years later, thinks he's doing much better. Might be doing much better in many ways. But then there's these things that he said that kind of stand out to me in a way that suggest, what up with that? So, there's no shortcuts in this. You've been with somebody with BPD, you just got ghosted, discarded, it's on, it's off, they're hoovering, you don't know what to do, you love them, you want them back. You know the agony. Even if you only dated them for 4 months or 2 weeks or whatever, or it could be years or it could be a marriage, it doesn't matter. Because BPD breakups are about the most painful breakups out of them all in relationship territory. So anyway, let's just jump into this, because if you think I don't have any empathy for this person, I do, but I'm not, I'm fairly neutral about how they've approached me, but I don't appreciate it, right? So it might get a little bit interesting in that regard, but I'm not taking it personally. And the other thing I just want to say at the outset is, this guy makes a lot of excuses and says a lot of interesting things, but he's probably made some progress, but I just don't think he's progressed to the point where most people would want to be after 3 years of dating a borderline for 4 months, or whatever the time frames are. So, hey, I just want to say, I have a lot of empathy for people who have all kinds of reasons why they're not getting out of these relationships. And that's not this commenter's case, but it's many people's cases. And if you just found out you've been with somebody with borderline, or you just, you're newer to this, or you've been at this a long time, and maybe you've been, not really in a relationship with them, or on and off over years. I have clients that, it's been 5 years, 6 years, 8 years, 10 years, maybe 3 years. And the point is, they are not recovered. They have not healed. They have not moved on. They are still in agony. They are still in the cognitive dissonance, and they're still ruminating. And frankly, I have a lot of clients, not necessarily right now, but over time and through 35 years, that just aren't doing well at all. They're so super stuck, because all they can keep saying is, I miss him or her, I love him or her, no matter what all the other truths involved in the relationship are. So just know, this isn't me blasting all of y'all out there. This is just like another reminder that you need to think more about what you're doing. If you're, a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 6 years, 10 years out of the relationship with the borderline, but you haven't moved on and you haven't broken the trauma bond. And even if you moved on in some ways, you're still hurting. As I think, I don't know what's going on with this commenter, but this commenter commented on a short, because shorts. People think you should have everything in the world in a short. Anyway, called Unmasking BPD Hoovers. And so Okram75, who I think I've deleted before and not enjoyed before, just saying, nothing personal, said, we were a couple in 2022 for 4 months. Then she discarded me, hoovered me a few months later, got back together, worked for a month, the relationship worked for a month, I guess. Cut it out, guys! Sorry. There's going to be no edits here. It's just going to be the way it goes. So they got back together once, worked it out. It worked for a month. Then she discarded him again, just out of the blue. Well, that's how discards usually happen, is out of the blue. It happens to be my favorite color, but when we're talking about out of that blue, no, that's a different thing. And he said, I went no contact, blocked her number. It's more than 3 years after, and to this day, she still tries to Hoover me by email about every 3 to 6 months with different excuses to contact me. Well, and of course, a question I had for this person they didn't appreciate is, why don't you block her? And then people say, well, you can't always block fully an email. Well, then the next thing you do is you change your email and you stop reading and using the other email. Because otherwise, Grace, go lay down, please. Go on. Otherwise, you're not full no contact. And full no contact is really required, except in the cases where there's children, it has to be extreme no contact, to break the trauma bond, to really be able to move on. And so this commenter says, continues, I guess in a Hoover, wanted to contact, and contacted him in email and said wanted to meet for drinks, so he's reading it sometimes at least. Last one was 4 days ago, wishing me happy holidays. Hilarious that even 3 years after, she still tries. Well, in a way, if you're going to be that judgmental about what the borderline is doing, fair enough, whatever you want to do, I would say hilarious that you're still reading them. Hilarious that you're still letting them come to you, her Hoovers, in email. Because you can't block her fully and you have an excuse for that. Okay. It's not hilarious. It's actually troubling. It should be troubling to you that you're doing this. Well, no, it shouldn't be troubling to you that you're doing this. But I hope other people that can relate will ask themselves more critical questions. Because what you're doing is your business, but it doesn't seem very healthy to me. Okay, so then, I put a couple comments up, like I'm not going to read them. I couldn't find them. It's hard enough. I have the cataracts, right, that nobody cares about. You don't need to. But, it's really harder for me to read this stuff than it used to be. And hopefully early next year or by February next year, that'll be dealt with if, we have to see if there's anything else going on behind the eye. But that's not what you're here for. So, then I did reply, and I said something to the effect of that he would probably be best off to block the email and that type of thing. And why does he still want to read the email sometimes? And why is he not full no contact after 3 years? Things of that nature. Which are just questions. He doesn't have to answer me, right? So he replied back, you clearly missed the point in my comment. No, I clearly didn't miss the point in your comment. I don't know how many of my videos you've watched, but you've missed the points in all of them, or my main point in all of them, okay? But you can feel like I missed the point of your comment if that's what you truly believe. It's not going to help you, but that's okay. It's not my business. And the commenter said, maybe you should read it a few more times. Why? It was very, it wasn't complex. It was simple. And I got to the heart of the matter of what you haven't done for yourself and what so many other people aren't doing for themselves and wondering why they're still suffering. Maybe more than you are, but I don't think you're clear of all the woods just yet. But maybe you're not suffering right now. But they are, but so many people are suffering because they're doing the types of things that you're doing. I caught that point right when I was supposed to, thank you. Okay? I don't have to reread a darn thing you've said, dude. Geez, I've worked with probably over over 1 million people in 35 and a half years, and you think I missed your point. Okay, well, that's kind of funny. Anyway, and I should read it over a few more times. Why would I waste my time? And by the way, I'm not English, so sorry if I didn't wrote it clearly enough. Well, I'm not English either. I speak English, but I'm not English, which means British. But anyways, if English isn't your first language, you wouldn't have caught that. So anyway, it's not really a lack of clarity on your part due to language. So excuse number one. And then I am the native English speaker, and this person thinks I need to read their comment many times because I missed the point. Well, if you're not a native English speaker, perhaps you should read my replies and watch this video about 50 times. Maybe. I have this, here we come with more excuses. He says, I have this email. Well, okay, English isn't first language. I have had this email for more than 15 years. My bank stuff, work stuff, etc. It all comes here. So it would be too much hassle compared to still accepting Hoovers that he does or doesn't respond to sometimes, I don't know, from a person he dated for 4 months, or maybe they were together all together 5 months, but not in a row, 3 years ago. Too much of a hassle to change the email because one person sends me something every few months. You missed the point of all my videos, dude. Do you want to go watch them all again? Just saying. This is sad. It really is. Because for all of you out there right now that are going to have to change your phone number, and you're like, but I've had my phone number for like however many years. I don't want to have to change my email because, my work stuff, my bank stuff, my stuff. Well, yeah, but you can start over, and it's important enough to break the trauma bond, and it's important enough to be full no contact from a borderline that you can be, that you don't have kids with, that, to do these things. So this is what I want other people to hear, because this dude's obviously made up his own mind, and that's his business, frankly. And then he says, because one person sends me things every few months. Yeah, that you're not no contact from, that you're probably not totally recovered from the relationship, and that you haven't totally moved on from the relationship. But be too much of a hassle to get a new email, change it at your bank, change it in a few places, so that one person can't reach you anymore, which is the healthiest thing to do. It doesn't bother me that much. Well, whether it's bothering you or not, okay, if it doesn't bother you that much, but you're still reading it, you're still looking at it, you're still not full no contact, you're making excuses, and you're enjoying her continued Hoover attempts as entertainment, you said, and I'm not sure if that's coming up or if that was in a comment prior. I think I got them all, but you said it's really entertaining. And I replied to you saying that's sadistic. That's not healthy of you to be entertained by somebody's pain or somebody's inability to stop following certain patterns, and because it'd be too much of a hassle for you to change your email to be able to move on. Like I said in the comment that I don't know if I did audio as well, but it's like written there. So what are you getting out of this? Because you're clearly getting something out of it. You haven't 100% healed. You haven't, you just aren't where perhaps you think you are. I don't know. And I want people that relate to this to think about this, because this can go on for years and years of the rest of your life. If you don't work with somebody, you don't break the trauma bond, you don't do what you need to do, which is go full no contact. For those of you lucky enough to be able to do that because you don't have children with a person with BPD. So that would be a hassle. Doesn't bother him that much. Can still not read it or straight delete it from the spam folder. And of course, as you just mentioned, times you do read it. I didn't respond to the last one, and I won't. Oh, so maybe this comment responded to the one before that, and the one before that, and the one before that, and the one before that. And how many would that be in 3 years? Because he's so over this, right? Also, she has to pass with her car my workplace every day from her home. That's how we met. And I see her about 1 to 2 times a week, sometimes 1 time a month for a few seconds, depends on my work shift. So full no contact is not realistically possible anyway. Oh, yes, it is. You See her, big deal. Don't see her anymore, just keep going. You don't talk. So now I'm taking out of this that you speak to her sometimes too, because you see her. You go past each other, just go past her. None of that's a reason to not be full no contact. So what are you playing at, dude? What are you playing at? You're like, it's okay, it doesn't bother me. But you haven't put it behind you in a way that would be most healthy for you. And laughing at her is sadistic, okay? So this person says, so full no contact is not realistically possible. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I've gone no contact with somebody BPD years ago, and I had to still see them places. And when I, quote, saw them, I didn't see them at all. I looked right through them. I looked right past them. And I would not have any dialogue with them. I didn't have any animosity. I was just full no contact. And so that's what people need to do. That's what healing is about. Lots of people don't choose it. Lots of people can't do it. Lots of people don't want to do it. Apparently you're being so entertained and you have to see her anyways, and etc. And maybe you think that that makes you even more, quote, healed, unquote, or something, but it doesn't. It's something you're leaving open that I don't recommend anybody leaves open. That doesn't mean that I talk to her or something else. We just nod hello. That's still contact. Why bother? What are you getting out of it? Well, she passes like I do. All other people, that's it. Well, you say that's it, but I don't have the same perspective with all the people that I've worked with, that for most people that's not just that's it. And if it is, that's just it for you. You're still interestingly making excuses for like a nod, a hello, reading an email. You didn't reply to the last one, so how many others did you reply to? And you're just not full no contact. So it means something and you're getting something out of it, and you said you find it entertaining, and that is sadistic. It's not healthy. And then the example was on how they can behave with Hoovers. But we're not always talking about only or always the borderlines behavior, because people with codependency have all kinds of behaviors, maybe really minutely small, like something you're doing, commenter, or other people relating, maybe doing other things. And it's like, but you're still focused on how your ex with BPD from 3 years ago for 4 months or 5 months, on how she behaves. What about you? Don't you have personal responsibility for your choices? Especially when you're laughing at somebody who's still, and you're leaving the way open for them to still hoover you? It's not good enough, dude. If it's good enough for you, that's going to be your problem. But I'm trying to tell everyone else, it's not good enough. It's not what you deserve. It's not what you need. You need full no contact. You need to change your email. You need to change your number. You need to change your social media or get off social media. You need to do all of this for yourself to truly move the heck on from these people, and not be 3 years later, hey, how you doing? Hello, nodding as they go by and reading their email every 3 to 6 months or whatever, and I guess answering some prior, but he didn't answer the last one. It's not good enough, this, ladies and gentlemen. So if you think that you like what the commenter is doing, like I'd like to try that too, it's not even something to aim for. It's just not recommended. It's just not healthy. And more people than not that do what this commenter is doing, they're not. They might be doing much better, but they're not over it the way they think they truly are, or why would they be doing this stuff? What's he getting out of it? That's my question. And where was I? Because plenty of victims think that they didn't hoover for a month after or half a year. The discard that they won't hoover at all, I guess this person means. I have to translate broken English. That was my point, to show my personal example. It's not the best example on earth, dude. It just isn't. Sorry. My personal example, how Hoovers can last years after. They don't. When people take the steps they need to take to eliminate the possibility of them. Even when they drive by your house for work. Even if they shop in a market or a store right beside yours. Right beside yours. Right beside where you live or where you go to shop. There's more that you can do. So you're not setting an example. If this works for you, I still wonder what you're getting out of it. But I would not recommend this for anybody else. This is compromise. This is not full no contact and moving on and forgetting that you ever knew that person, which is really the end goal. My point was to show my personal example on how Hoovers can last years. Like, I haven't explained that here, but I guess you missed all those points or didn't see that right. Doesn't matter. And that she's still Hoovers. She's 15 years younger. I'm in my 50s, nothing special. We dated just 4 months, and in those 3 years after, she had plenty other men, and I'm sure. So how come she still Hoovers me, not just them? That's a surprise. Oh, yeah, okay. So doesn't sound like you're totally over the possibility of her coming back your way if she wasn't with another guy. And you do have some questions there that speak to lack of closure. And of course, you're older and she's younger. And interesting. But anyway, I'm surprised that you're putting my reactions as, quote, unhealthy, because they are. And yes, I did say immature, because they are unhealthy and immature. You can do better, but if you don't want to, it's up to you. But the message for everybody else listening to this is go the full distance, do the full healing, fully break the trauma bond, go full no contact, change your email, change your phone number, change everything. And don't let excuses that this person's using keep you caught up in something or you laughing at the borderline's attempts to hoover you. And actually, when he talks about being in his 50s and she's younger and etc. and other guys, and so see, he's getting something out of still being hoovered. Yep. And so he's so surprised that I said whatever he said, because the way he's saying it, he's using the wrong words again, which I guess he can't help. That I said it was unhealthy and immature. He was surprised for that because the first year I was, like many others, secretly hoping for a Hoover, understanding it's wrong. She cares, misses me. The Hoovers always triggered me, made me sad for days. Now finally they don't really matter. They don't do much else to make me, except make me smile for a few seconds. Well, you're smiling because you're still getting validation and some other kind of positive feeling because you're in your 50s and she's younger and she's still hoovering you. So you're not beyond it. You're just not beyond it. Whether or not you'd ever turn back or not, it would be best for you, and I'm saying this to anybody else who can relate out there, to go further and to do more for yourself and to end all contact, any contact. That includes smiling and feeling all, complimented that she still hoovers you and she's younger than you and you're in your 50s. I knew you were getting something out of it besides a little bit of sadistic laughter, and you're still enjoying the attention in an unhealthy and immature way. Like I said, it's unhealthy and immature. I was you were like many others secretly. Well, what are you better than all of them now? Because you haven't gone the full distance in your healing. And other people have. Just saying. And lots of people are working on it. So the commenter says, I would call that big progress and healing on my part. sorry, this for the response anyway. Oh, so you're a martyr. Now you're a martyr victim because I challenged what she said. Okay? Still codependent. Still have work to do. But it's up to you whether you want to do it or not. It's not my problem. And, yeah, so, it might be big progress. Give that to your commenter. But you're not where you need to be. You haven't gone the full distance. That's my point. That you missed and missed and missed. And then projected that I missed your point. I didn't miss your point. I got your point. So anyone else that can relate to this, if you're listening to what this guy is saying, you don't want to go in this direction. Because for more people than not, it does still hurt and it does still matter. And he's in his 50s and she's younger and he's still getting all, complimented and validated by her still hoovering, and he smiles and he laughs and he's sadistic about it. And he's trying to tell everybody else that he's a great example of how to do this when he's not. And he's also trying to tell you that, maybe they won't stop hoovering. They will stop hoovering when you make it impossible for them to hoover, and there are ways to do that. And you'll do that. I don't think the comment will do that. But people will do that when they want to be able to heal fully and move forward, not just be somewhat better, okay, after 3 years. So he continues, and he's been editing everything and trying to change stuff too. Also, when she discarded, she went back with her ex, tried to triangulate me. She sent me screenshots of his messages to her. I never asked for it. Then I saw her with him a few months later. She lives 30 minutes away from me. So does he. And once I saw them... Okay, so first of all, he's still regurgitating the past from 3 years ago and thinks that's called healed. It's not. So there's that. And then he says she lives 30 minutes away from me. So does he. And once I saw them in a bar near the store, I buy groceries just 500 meters from my home. So was on purpose for sure. If he were healed, if you weren't still interested in perhaps her coming back your way, she's younger, you're in your 50s, you're still getting something out of why she's still sending you these Hoovers, and you're still reading them for a reason too. And you're saying, so because they went somewhere, they live in the neighborhood, because they went to some bar or something near where you live or you shop or both, that it was for sure on purpose. Not really. That's just you sort of putting forward that you still have a want there. Potentially. Perhaps it's unconscious to you. Not in your conscious awareness. Oh, but that was for sure on purpose. Why would you care? See, if you were full no contact and you really had overcome this and gone beyond, you wouldn't even be saying this. Why are you still watching my channel? Why are you still watching BPD videos? Ooh, why didn't I think of that at the beginning? Not too many people do that after they've actually broken the trauma bond, gone full no contact, stopped all contact, and moved forward in time to not have this person be on their minds anymore. So see, you're getting a lot out of this, dude. You need to think about that. I mean, you don't need to, but it would help you to. There's changes you still need to make, but that's up to you whether you want to or not, right? In those 3 years, every now and then, a strange message or call from unknown phone numbers. My number is private. You have to know it. So you didn't change it though, eh? You didn't change your number either? I don't know what you're saying. Yeah, okay, your number's private, yeah. For whatever that means in the world today. Maybe it still means something, I don't know. Wait a second, so I keep losing my place. Yeah, you're getting strange messages and calls from unknown phone numbers. My number's private, you have to know it. I guess she knows it, or maybe I don't know. So far, at least 20 times friend requests from different fake, just created profiles. on Instagram or Facebook until I deactivated Facebook, etc. Well, there you took a step that you won't take in these other directions for some reason. On 2 different occasions, last year and year before, she passed my workplace about 10 times every 10 minutes. She's doing that, right? And you're paying attention. Why would she stop doing something when you're paying attention? You're still getting validation out of this. Clearly just doing circles, hoping to get a reaction from me. I ignored, and I could go on and on. I'm sure you could go on, and all that you would go on and on about would make my point, my couple of points, even just stronger and stronger and stronger. Because whether or not she's driving around, by the way, there's something you can do about her driving around every, 10 times around your block or your work every 10 minutes. You can do something about that legally, but you haven't. That's another interesting thing. And then you're like, you're paying attention. She's having her way with you in terms of still captivating your attention because there's something you haven't healed there. Something you haven't let go of there. Something you haven't found your closure about there. Everything ignored, I just smile to myself and move on. But as you say, I'm the sadistic, unhealthy, immature one. Well, I wasn't saying you are a totally sadistic person. I was saying when you were saying about, and it didn't come up in these comments here because I guess I missed it or you edited it. So yeah, probably you edited it out. But you did say that you were enjoying all of her, Hoovers, and I guess, driving around your work and when you're not at her. And for sure, her and the person she's with now went to a bar just to somehow get your attention. You see, you are really not perceiving this in a healthy manner. So when you said that you found it entertaining, I said that is somewhat sadistic, meaning that that's a sadistic attitude because you're talking about the behavior of the borderline, but you're not looking at your own behavior and what you won't put a stop to for yourself. And so that is sadistic. I'm not saying you're an entirely sadistic human being. That's not what I said. You sound quite immature around this issue. And what was the other word you said? Yeah, you're still not doing the healthiest things. You're doing unhealthy things still. And I think I get why now. And as I said, and so that, you're in your 50s and she's younger and etc. And you're still surprised that she would even bother to Hoover you. And so there's something there that you are invested in these Hoovers, even though you make it sound like I don't care, it doesn't matter to me. I just don't tend to hear that as being really authentic. So this commenter is an example of somebody who thinks, I'm sure he's maybe doing better, but he won't let go, and he won't go full no contact, and he won't take the steps he needs to take with his email and other things. He took some steps on social media, but he's not fully going to move out of her contacting him because he's still getting way too much out of it. And says it doesn't bother him anymore. And okay, but I wonder what he is getting out of it must lead to thoughts on the other side that could become troublesome at least once in a while. Anyway, the reason for, I believe I've had issues with, or this commenter's had issues with me before. So, and the other thing I would just say is, to this commenter, if you're so fine with everything, even though you're not doing it all the healthy way, you did say something, I guess you edited, but you did say something that was indicative of you having a sadistic attitude toward your BPD Ex because of how they're behaving, but you were laughing at it, and you're obviously still getting chuffed up, validated, and it matters to your ego somewhere that they're still hoovering you ongoing because they're younger, and I'm sure they're gorgeous, and you're in your 50s. And I'm not saying you're not decent looking. I have no idea. But the point is, so that's why when the sadistic, what I said was about part of that, what you'd said, and now I think you've erase it off the channel, of course, because you won't take responsibility for everything that you should, dude. And the other thing is, you are acting immature because you won't go full no contact, and you are getting something out of it. And then something else you edited was, prior you said that you wanted other people to see how the borderline can still behave, and that's when you said it was all entertaining and such, which is sadistic, a sadistic attitude and or approach. And then you said you wanted to show other people what they should be doing after, because, you know, sometimes borderlines just won't ever stop hoovering. There's always a way to address continued hoovering, what it actually means. But dude, you don't want to, because you're still getting something out of it. And that was my whole point. And I didn't miss any of your points, but I guess you don't want to hear my point. So anybody else, if you listen to this, if you can relate, if you're in that absolute beginning of just HE double hockey sticks of, oh my God, what will I do now? And I still love him or her. And, you know, like, he has such great potential. She has such great potential. They're not going to meet the potential. They're not going to change. Whether whether, unlike this guy who isn't, having her come back just yet, but that may happen still in the future because he's not going for no contact. Something's up there. So the thing is, you need to get into therapy. I'm not talking to the commenter. I'm talking to people that can relate. You need to get into therapy. The commenter could use it too, but I'm sure that he feels like he's way beyond that. That's why he's still watching BPD videos, right? So you need to get into therapy. I'm out here to work with people that resonate with me, if you resonate with me. And the thing is, you got to break the trauma bond. If you have children with this person, then depending on what the custody, what might happen, you have to go extreme low contact. That means that the only contact you have with that ex is about those children, and it's not about the ex, and it's not about what used to be or or anything else. So this is really, really nightmare stuff for people. But for this commenter to be 3 years out from a 4-month relationship and still finding validation in being hoovered, and there isn't full closure there on his part, and yeah, he sounds like he's doing better, okay, but this is not where people should aim for. And then this commenter, before he edited comments and whatnot, said that he wanted to show people how to deal with this and be an example. Well, I'm sorry, commenter, you're not an example. I've had many clients I've worked with. I'm sure there are other people out there that they've done all the right things, all the really difficult, hard, beyond difficult, hard, and extremely painful things in their therapy processes, breaking the trauma bond, going for no contact when they don't have any children with the person with BPD, whether they live close or not, having nothing to do with them, and using the legal system to not allow them to drive 10 times around their place of business, etc. Well, and you're like, oh, it don't bother me. No, because you're still hoping she's coming back, dude. And you're not taking care of yourself. So that's what's unhealthy about that too. So for anyone else who's in any other iteration of this, but you know how many people there are out there? You might be one of them. Maybe you went out with a borderline for 2 weeks, 2 months, 4 months, a year, half a year, 8 months, 10 months. Maybe it was a really long time. Maybe you got married. Point is, this is one of the most difficult relationship types to actually heal from. And to go no contact when there are no children, and to take care of yourself, and to break the trauma bond and break the fantasy bond. And I would suggest this commenter still has a little bit of that codependency and a little bit of that fantasy bond going on too, especially when he enjoys the Hoovers and thinks, oh, when they went to the bar, it was for sure on purpose. I bet it had nothing to do with you, dude. You're lost in this still 3 years later. And if you're doing better than you were, that's great. But why aren't you doing more for you? And my message to everybody else that's been listening, or if you made it this far, amazing. But the bottom line is, don't take this person as an example because there's much in what he's been able to, get some traction and make some changes. But there's much he's not doing that would be healthier for him to do. And he's not really over her. And his ego still gets tweaked when she hoovers him. And that's the kind of still attachment that you want to obliterate. You want to totally heal when you're in therapy, to break the fantasy bond, the betrayal bond, the trauma bond, and to heal from the relationship. And this is some of the most difficult work that people have to do because it's just so darn hard to get to the work and to stop wanting that person back no matter what the heck happened. No matter how maybe impossible it is to get them back, or, maybe it could be a bit possible, but guess what? When you get them back, whether it's 2 months later, a year later, or on and off recycling relationships, nothing ever changes. And what are you so addicted to in the trauma bond and the fantasy bond? You're addicted to the intermittent reinforcement. I have clients I'm working with now, clients I've worked with over the years. They continue to not go no contact, and they continue to wait to be hoovered or to sometimes reverse hoover because they just want to have a few hours or a half a day with that person, even if nothing else works out, because then they can feel, so good, so excited, pain is gone, agony is gone, rumination is gone, cognitive dissonance is gone, lack of closure, it's all gone. But it's only gone for a very brief period of time. Could be 3 hours max. Could be a day, a week. And then there's going to be ghosting and discarding again. Then you're going to be in a world of hurt again. And every time you jump for the intermittent reinforcement, which this commenter is doing in a passive, maybe not consciously aware way, he's not jumping to it, but it's still happening. And every time you do that, and more so do that than even the commenter is doing it, you are strengthening the very trauma bond and fantasy bond that you need to break. And all because you just want to get out of the agony that you don't know how to cope with. And I help clients learn how to cope with that pain. And where is that pain really coming from? Yes, a lot of it comes from the BPD and the relationship, but it comes from childhood too. And it's the patterns of woundedness in childhood that make it impossible to break the patterns with the borderline in the here and now or from the past with the cognitive dissonance and the rumination and the stopping of people's lives. And they don't go on to function. And I have a lot more clients now that have been with people with BPD and they don't even want to live anymore. So make sure that you don't take this commenter as an example, because sometimes things that are really big going on with somebody they're not aware of, and who knows if he would ultimately let her come back if she wasn't with another guy and whatever. But he's getting ego fed in the meantime, and that's still probably helping him to, quote, feel better. And where would he be in his process of healing if he were to go full bore and do the rest of it? Because that's the tough part. He can't yet let her stop, end her Hoovers by, blocking them and doing what it would be best for him to do, because he's still garnering really minuscule, but still intermittent reinforcement when she Hoovers. And it can be that tricky and that sort of you can deny it as much as this commenter. So just know you got to go the full trip through the therapy, and you need to let go of these people. And some people will say, well, I'll always love them. That's different than saying, I still so love them that I don't feel like I want to live my life anymore, and I don't know how to go on, and I can't concentrate, and I'm going to lose my job, and I'm not paying my bills, and I'm not doing anything, and I'm not seeing my friends, and I'm just isolating. I mean, your life, so many people's lives after the borderline discards or the on-off or the ghosting, so many people's lives just stop, and you're in agony. And people stay there for years. And I have all kinds of empathy for people in these positions, and not this commenter necessarily, trying hard to respect him a little bit, but not a lot of empathy for him because he doesn't realize his own denial still, to whatever degree it is. But bottom line is, if you can't concentrate on your life, and it doesn't matter if they left you yesterday, if it's been 5 years or 8 years or 10 years or longer, if you can't focus on your life, if you're still unhappy, if you can't move on, if you're ruminating, if you're not functioning, if you've lost yourself and you can't find yourself again, these are all big red flags that you need to get into a process of therapy to work this through, because it goes back to childhood for everybody in one way or another. And when you're stuck with your childhood woundedness, you're not going to be able to let go, work through and heal the trauma bond, the fantasy bond, the betrayal bond, all the things that you were traumatized and re-traumatized by the borderline about, with, and around, and how hurt you were. Because you have to be able to go back to heal childhood core stuff, which helps helps the healing and the breaking of the trauma bond and the other bonds, etc. So I mean to be respectful as I can be to this commenter, but is the respect a little diminished too? Yep. I guess I don't take things personally, but dude's saying he's fine and everything when he's still, getting ego hits and fed somehow by his borderlines, 3 years later still hoovering him, then tells me I missed the point. No, he missed the point. And if he was really over this person, why is he still watching my videos? And then he made comments, and then he edited when I commented back, which lots of people have done. Not lots. The odd person does it because then they want to get in this argument with me because they think they'll make me wrong. I'm not wrong. And I'm not saying he's totally wrong, the commenter, because whatever he's choosing for himself is his own business. But with regard to feeling entertained by Hoovers from the borderline when he's looking at the borderline's behavior and not looking at his own, yes, I said that was sadistic. And I said overall that he's not doing this in the healthiest way, so it's unhealthy. And then when he was trying to recommend to others, unhealthy and emotionally immature. And this happens to people because if you have codependency, you've been with a borderline, you've been hurt in childhood, people with codependency can be somewhat emotionally mature too. I'm not saying the same as people with BPD. So anyway, I hope this was helpful. Went on too long. I apologize for that, but I just do it the way I do it and whatever after that. You know what I mean? So I haven't done videos for a while, so I thought I'd do this, and I better just stop talking now. It's been way too long. But my point again is that this commenter is cheating himself. This commenter is still in denial. This commenter still has some codependence. This commenter's ego is still getting stroked because his BPD Ex of 4 months, 3 years ago is still hoovering him. And he's making all these excuses why he can't change the email and, other things like that. But yet he did block something on social media, apparently. And then they still nod and say hello to each other. This is not recommended because no contact is the way to stop, even unconsciously, if this commenter doesn't realize it, deriving ego, intermittent reinforcement in mini versions like this commenter is doing and thinking that he's got it all solved. He's far from having it all solved. And I know many people out there are far from having it all, really, really far from having it all solved. But you have to make a choice, and it has to be a choice for you and about you. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's going to hurt. But the only way to get out of all the agony you're in is to make that decision to work with someone, and I'm out here, if I resonate with you, to work with you, so you can start taking the steps. I have so many clients that start off telling me all that they're going through, and understandably, and the rumination, and however long it's been doesn't matter, and etc. And they're in agony, and they're not functioning, and they've lost themselves, and they're barely hanging on in a lot of cases. And as much as they want change and to heal, sometimes it's very hard to help somebody be motivated to actually start doing one little thing, and then another little thing, and another little thing, to start moving toward that, in that direction. You have to want it. You have to choose it. And you have to seek help. And don't be playing head games with yourself like the commenter is, because it's too, so now he doesn't feel in as much pain or whatever. Well, that's nice for him. Okay. But I don't think all the pain's gone either, or he still wouldn't be getting the mini intermittent reinforcement ego hits, etc. So don't sell yourself short. People can and do heal from this, and it's not the simplest thing. And you do have to take your own action steps. And when I work with clients, I give homework exercises, things to do, ways to reframe thoughts, a whole lot of work. But if you don't do some of that work and help me help you, I don't have a magic wand. Anyway, I hope that this was helpful to people, because sometimes when somebody's a little stuck in something and they don't get it and they want to argue with me or whatever, well, I'm not trying to make a hard example of this person, but sort of an example in the sense that many more of you might be able to hear what I'm actually saying there and see it because you're not the commenter. Anyway, so many people hurting so badly. Women who've been with men with BPD, gay men who've been with men with BPD, lesbian women who've been with women with BPD, and heterosexual men who've been with women with BPD. And only you can choose your healing process, and only you can make the choice beyond, like when clients come to work with me, only you can make the choice beyond, I'm going to book a session or sessions with AJ, and then, I let people talk, like as much as they want about the X or the on and off or and everything like that. I'm not going to tell you what to say or force you that we have to start this process like right now. Nothing like that. But you do have to have a goal and an intention to take an action step toward that so that you can start to feel better, because it takes quite a while to feel better. And I feel for all of you out there, whether you're newer to this, you just got ghosted, discarded, you don't know what's going on, or you've been going through this. Some people have been going through these on-off relationships, recycling, Hoovers, reverse Hoovers, for seriously, 10, 20 years. And guess what? Nothing changes. They're trauma bonded, they got the fantasy bond, and they keep going back. The codependent keeps going back or taking the borderline back for the intermittent reinforcement, and the borderline keeps on doing the same things over and over in the same cycles if they're untreated. And even if they're getting treatment, a lot of people with BPD aren't in the right treatment. And today, for some reason, a lot of clinicians out there, maybe more in America, just saying, they are diagnosing borderlines with ADHD. Maybe some people with BPD have ADHD co-occurring. I would have no idea, because I don't really focus on ADHD. I'm learning, but there's a problem with it. But the thing is, ADHD is not BPD, and ADHD is not a fill-in for BPD. So there's a lot going wrong in diagnostic processes. There's a lot of people who will have a borderline who'll say, I'll go see a therapist, and then you hang in there, and they're just going to a therapist and talking about other stuff and complaining about you and weaponizing all of their misconceptions and, their inability to see the reality of who you are, and just telling a therapist that. And then often therapists are believing that, and it changes nothing and you get nowhere. So my message is, as always, if you're with somebody with BPD or you've been ghosted, discarded, cheated on once or more than once, on and off, it's time for you to find your way out of the trauma bond, the fantasy bond, the betrayal bond, the cheating, the abuse that you keep thinking is love. It's not love. They don't attach to you. They use you. They don't even see you. Take care of you.